Electric Lawn Talk. Stephen here with Ecomo Lawn and Landscape down in Dallas, Texas. Got the boys on tonight. William with Sust, Sean with Luminary Lawns, Jamar with Peaceful Lawn and Garden down in Houston, Texas, Sandy over in Florida with Electric Turf Pros. Joined tonight by a new friend, good guy. Hung out with him several times here in the Dallas area. Mr. Brent Lanier from Steel. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Stephen, thank you so much for having me. I am doing quite awesome.
Good to hear, man. How's everybody else doing? It's been a little while since we talked.
Great, man. New year. Let's go.
Doing well. Just trying to get everything ready.
Yeah. Jamar, how about you, bud? You good?
Absolutely. Super fantastic.
Of course you are. Sandy, how's things going in Florida?
Hey, can't complain. It's 2024. Let's go.
I love it, man. I love it. It's going to be a big year. It's going to be a big year for all of us. We've got big, nasty goals out in front of us for 2024. I know you guys all do. We're blessed to have Brent with us tonight from Steel. And I want to jump in with this, man. I don't want to use up too much of your time. I know you probably got a lot going on with the wife and kids, and you got some young ones you probably got to put down. So I'm going to dive into this. If you can, man, give us a little rundown on your background, how long you've been with Steel, and kind of what brought you to Steel.
Gotcha. Again, thanks for having me, man. I've been with Steel for about 10 years. This will be my 10th year in the spring. So I work with the Texas and Oklahoma branch of Steel, which is also known as Blue Mountain Equipment. I started with Blue Mountain Equipment in the technical department. The technical department is basically like the warranty department and distributor level research and development. In the tech department, I did everything from dealer technical assistance, warranty management, product evaluation, and I also served as a dealer technician instructor and a fleet technician instructor. So big technical background. Now I work in field applications and sales. So what I do in field applications and sales, my territory, I cover all of Dallas and Fort Worth, and I assist specifically end users and instruct end users and provide product demos. It's all still commercial customers throughout my territory. So those include small to large landscapers, municipalities, universities, cemeteries, fire and rescue departments, construction companies. I mean, it's just endless. The type of commercial end user that I deal with. What really brought me to Steel was really just the long reach of the reputation and the name. There was always something mysterious and cool that I used to see with the guys that would perform in Steel Timber Sports on ESPN2 growing up. I always thought it was wicked sick. And once I was introduced to the folks at Blue Mountain Equipment, like Matt and Kelly and the guys, I saw the professionalism and dedication that they had, not just to the equipment, but to each other. And the way that company is ran, I knew it was a company that I could be proud of.
Yeah, I love it. I'll tell you, from the minute that I met Robin Hastings from Blue Mountain Equipment, and he invited me up to their facility up in McKinney, Texas, it was just a totally welcome experience. The facility is just mind blowing. How big and new it is. And I know there's a lot of new technology in the works as far as like moving new equipment around in the warehouse with automation and shipping, and just to see wall to wall in the warehouses, the equipment that was there, how clean the facility was. Robin kind of bringing me in and giving me the full experience. And then of course, getting to meet Matt. Matt Rose is just an incredible dude up there. He knows everything about every single tool. He's kind of the guru in the box. But yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. That was the impression that I got. Was it was very much like a family that's in there. You didn't mention to me, or you didn't mention here rather, but I know that you've got a military background. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I enlisted in the Air Force back in 2006, and I've been in air base ground defense for since then. I got a few years to go till retirement, but I mean everything that has to deal with defending the air base, I've done. I mean now I pretty much ride a desk, and I'm a personnel manager, which I love, but I miss the field stuff. But yeah, I love the military, love it, and I can't wait to see it through to the end.
Yeah. Appreciate your service, man. I know we all do. So let's dig into, obviously we're all going to be just talking about battery here with Steel Products. I know every one of us has got a lot of different questions. I spent some time kind of gathering questions from the guys, and I want to dig through these. Let's kick it off with, can you share like the inspiration on your latest range of commercial tools, right? Commercial outdoor power equipment, and what sets it apart from traditional equipment that's out in the field?
So good question. So I think as far as the commercial battery products that Steel has out there right now, just thinking like the 135 line, the biggest advantage that Steel has with that commercial battery line is that almost there's almost a professional gas power equivalent machine to each battery piece of equipment that we have. In years past, it wasn't like that. Whenever I first started with Steel, it was approaching, but it wasn't there. So not only has the power reached the level of gas, but Steel is one of the only battery OEMs that I know of that is currently using the same drive shafts and gear heads on our battery products that are currently being utilized on our gas products also.
Okay.
So that is a huge advantage. So because that we're using the same drive shafts and gear heads, it's like a familiarity, sorry, that our commercial users already have. So like a FSA 135R trimmer, it feels and performs like its gas equivalent FS91R trimmer. Same power, same feel, same drive shaft, same gear head. It also helps with the maintenance, since customers are already familiar with how Steel drive shafts and gear heads are serviced. Many large fleet users already have lubricants for the gas products. And with the battery tools, there's no need to change any current practices. It's all the same. Another huge factor that sets Steel battery equipment apart is, and this is probably the biggest, it's the technology within the battery itself called the battery management system, or BMS. The onboard BMS in each Steel battery appropriates volts and amps when and where they're needed. So this helps the tool maintain just constant power throughout the entire battery cycle without performance drop off.
Mm-hmm.
There is no battery. I don't care where you go, who you look at. There is no battery more advanced than the Steel battery system with BMS.
Yeah.
It just simply doesn't exist.
So you've got the two different battery types currently that are for the handheld tools, the little, other than the AR style, which is the backpack batteries. You've got the AP300 batteries and you've got the AP500 batteries. Obviously the 300s are a little bit lower capacity and the 500s are the bigger batteries. What's the difference between the two?
So makeup is going to be the technology in the cells. So the AP300S is going to be using more what looks like AA cylindrical style cells. The AP500 uses thinner, smaller, if you want to call it like a credit card looking type cell. So what the 500 does is it enables you to stack more capacity in the battery. And it not only extends the capacity, but it also doubles the amount of charge cycles that you're able to cycle with the AP 500S also.
Okay. Sean, did you have a question?
When you say the number of charge cycles, you're talking about how many times you can charge the battery and run it back down. Is that correct?
That is
Like
correct.
Over the life of the battery?
That is correct. Yeah.
So on the 500, so with them being different style designs, with the AP 300, you've got the cell technology, and with the AP 500, you've got the flat pack technology, correct?
That's right.
Okay. What do you know in your experience? Is there any one battery that's preferred over the other for extreme temperatures, either extreme cold, extreme heat? What do you know anything about that?
So I do know that the AP 500S is designed to bear the brunt of extreme temperatures a little bit better than the AP 300S. That is the way that it's designed.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we've got those, and then you've got the AR style backpacks, right?
That is correct. Which it is the ARs. It's just a bunch more cylindrical style cells packed within a bigger package. They're huge batteries. They're meant for long extended applications that just require if somebody's leaving the truck, they don't want to carry multiple batteries. They can use that also on our backpack BGA 300. It's the only battery that you can currently use on the BGA 300 just because of the load that is required from the blower itself.
Mm-hmm. Which is a great blower, that BGA 300. And we've got one of those AR 3000 backpack batteries. We love it. The runtime's been great. I mean, we get some pretty extreme temperatures here in Dallas. It gets really cold and it gets really hot. And it
For
seems
sure.
like that thing continues to just perform for us. William, you had a question.
Yeah, the Brent, thank you for coming on first and foremost. We've got the 500s and the 3000 as well. Talk to me a little bit more about the Connect. We haven't really dug into it on our side. I know it comes inherent to those batteries to be able to do some of the management, or you have the hub to be able to tie into them, and then you can put it on some of the older batteries. I feel like this is a great opportunity to not only ask you a bunch of questions, but learn more about these things that have been bugging me. So the Connect piece, do you know what I'm talking about? That's like built into the battery.
Absolutely. I'm glad you asked.
Where
So-
have you seen folks actually kind of find value? Because I think it's a cool feature now, but I want to find the usability that I can roll it out to all my guys.
So the big advantage about the Steel Connect system, which now we're seeing them actually put in the batteries themselves on the newer AP 300S and 500S batteries themselves. On the batteries, it allows the end user to monitor battery life, as well as last known location and number of cycles completed, all through the Steel Connected app on the user's smartphone. But the other Steel Connects that are out there, like the version 1 Connect and version 2 Connect, that you can actually place on the equipment. You can set maintenance intervals in the app. You can monitor how the hours on the machine. A lot of fleet customers love the fact that they can monitor how much the equipment is being used, so they can use that as fleet management. So they know that the guy that's supposed to be trimming the hedges isn't trimming the hedges. If it doesn't show as much runtime there, what one fleet user might like that for, another one might like it for the maintenance intervals. Like their guys, are breaking equipment or they're not doing their maintenance like they should. They set maintenance intervals, and you can assign different levels of access within the Steel Connected app. And so they'll give like their crew leaders access to the app, so they know when to bring the equipment in for maintenance, because they'll get an alert on their smartphone. The fleet manager also has access to the website called the Pro Portal, which has even more features that they can monitor back at the shop on the entire fleet. It's just a really good fleet management system that some people are taking advantage of. Like for instance, here in the city of McKinney, where I live and where the branch office for Texas and Oklahoma is. City of McKinney Parks and Rec, they put it on everything. They swear by it. And it's a very, very useful tool.
Sweet. Thank you.
You got it.
Good stuff. Got another one for you. So how do you ensure that the electric products, the battery products, they meet the rigorous demands of the outdoor environments? In other words, how are you guys building these tools and testing them to make sure that they're going to be fit for the work that all the guys like us are out here doing?
Well, as you probably know, Stephen, the answer is rigorous and thorough field testing. That is one thing that Steel does, and they do extremely well. Steel field testing partners are with companies like Ecomo, municipalities, large gas equipment landscapers. I mean, you name it. Steel equipment is put through the absolute gauntlet before findings are sent back to Steel Incorporated, Steel Germany, and adjustments are made by engineers. And the equipment is refined, sometimes placed back into field testing, and then back to the engineers before it's actually sent to production.
Yeah. Good stuff. So then comparing yourself to kind of everybody that's out there, right? So we've had the other guys that are out there. We've had the egos out there, Milwaukee's coming in the game. Makita's running a strong game. They're a great brand that's out there. I've got a lot of Makita hand tools, shop tools, things of that nature. You guys in many eyes have been kind of like the leaders in the chainsaw market, like you mentioned earlier, initially with the Steel Sports thing on ESPN, and I get it. And it was all sponsored by Steel. And then you have the egos of the world, and you have the Greenworks and the newcomers of Crest. Obviously, we're in a market as business owners, running small businesses, lawn and landscape businesses, where we're all experimenting with different equipment that's out there. I mean, for instance, just about everybody in this room with us right now is all in or significantly heavy with a different brand of gear. Okay. So you got the Electron guys they're heavy on Makita. I know Sandy's pretty heavy on Makita. Williams got a nice even mix with a lot of Steel gear. They're still using some Ego equipment. They've got some Greenworks equipment. Sean is a huge fan of Ego. He's all about
How dare you? How dare you?
I had to do it. I'm not going to cut this. Okay. I'm going to leave it in the show. So Sean's kind of all over the map, right? So he's got he's a heavy Steel user. He's got some other gear for, whatever it is that he needs. We're obviously heavy on Steel. You know that we've been working together for almost a year. Jamar's working heavy with Ego. He's got some Oso electric equipment in there. So just to give you kind of that 30,000 foot view, right? We're all on something different, right? So, and we all have the opportunity, because when we talk to each other all day long in our Discord channel, all day, like from 6 a.m. until midnight. Somebody's talking about something that's gear related. Okay. And when you come with you and you guys in Steel, how do you separate yourselves from everybody else that's out there? What do you do?
Yeah, I think it goes back to the integration of kind of like the gas battery hybrid that I was kind of talking about earlier. The same drive shafts, the same gear heads, putting out there that we have the same power equivalent now. But again, like I said, I think the biggest advantage that Steel has is in our battery technology and the battery management system. Talking about, I think I mentioned it just a few minutes ago, but all Steel batteries they're manufactured to retain up to 80% of their overall capacity, even after 1,200 charging cycles. So the only exception is the AP500S, with its non-conventional cells that retain 80% of its capacity after 2,500 charging cycles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just astounding. Because when you think about it, that's literally thousands of gas tank refills that we're eliminating by creating this battery, super battery technology that simply lasts longer than everybody else's.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of people don't realize that simple handheld outdoor power equipment machines, they don't have the fancy computer systems, most don't, to help reduce emissions like automobiles do. And there is a carbon footprint left on the environment by something that occurs in every single combustion engine called scavenging loss. And the sustainability of a tank of gasoline is just that. I mean, it's just a tank of gas. An AP battery, a steel AP battery, is going to last you years. I mean, there's fleet customers that have been using the same steel AP batteries literally for years, and they still hold a charge.
Mm-hmm.
It's just insane.
It really is. I mean, you're
I
almost
just want to touch on that real quick. I mean, I think I've been actually blown away with the AP batteries. We use them all the time on our. I mean, our and Stephen was joking about what equipment we use, but all of our handheld stuff is steel now, and our for our mowers currently we're using Toro, but those steel batteries, man, we put them through hell and they hold up. I've been absolutely amazed.
Good, good. I'm glad.
What's the other than the battery management? Is the battery management really the secret sauce? Is there some type of secret slurry of battery juice that y'all cook up in the steel labs, or is it just really
So
just technical expertise?
Steel uses a battery manufacturer. There's a few like worldwide and even fewer nationwide that many credible OEMs use to actually go and get their cell elements and cells themselves. The AP500S is a little bit different. All of that is 100% steel engineered. But for the cylindrical style cells, it is a credible technology that we go and source. But the battery management system itself, that is steel German engineered, and that is 100% what makes the steel AP battery what it is.
What kind of you said the 500S? Are you converting everything to that, or y'all just kind of figuring out which applications make sense for, or what's the game plan moving forward on that?
So that's the big question. I mean, things are constantly evolving. I mean, in the past 10 years with steel, I haven't seen battery technology evolve like I have in the past 2 years. So things that are on the horizon, I mean, that's just, there's rumors going around on what it could evolve into. And honestly, I'm not quite sure. I mean, the sky's really the limit. I mean, we thought that the AP300S was the biggest and baddest battery we had. Then all of a sudden, boom, we came out with the 500S battery. So there is definitely more on the horizon of what those engineers are going to be able to pack into a battery.
So Steel is pretty bought in on this. This is not kind of just placating to legislation and environmentalists. They're really, because, and I say this because I couldn't a year ago that it didn't feel like the case because of the dealer network, right? And so and I get it, like they've been selling gas stuff forever, so I get it. They didn't want to kind of move, but it sounds like, based on what you're telling me now, that Steel is investing heavily, and they're getting they're serious about this. Is that what you're smelling?
So Steel has had battery equipment as long as I've been with them, and even before I was with Steel. This is nothing new. This is something that Steel has done for a long time. So the way to green has always been orange, always. So you guys may or may not know about the EPA mandated 3-phase program to eliminate fossil fuel emissions and scavenging loss that started there in the mid 90s. Steel really pioneered that effort. By 2012, it was determined that combustion engine technology had reached a point where no more could possibly be engineered in regards to engine design to reduce emissions without causing catastrophic damage to the engine. So, like I said, Steel really pioneered this mandate for more environmentally friendly outdoor power equipment with the introduction of the Steel all position, what it was branded at the time, the four mix, which is now called the 4-stroke engine, which literally cut emissions and scavenging loss of their conventional 2-stroke equivalents more than in half, which was huge. So not only did the 4-stroke engine reduce emissions, but it also increased power and efficiency. Still, there was a need for conventional 2-stroke applications like chainsaws. You got to have higher RPM, power to weight ratio. You need a lighter piece of equipment. So there's still need for 2-stroke engines. So Steel introduced delayed and stratified scavenging engine designs, and they were able to bring the entire Steel equipment line within those EPA guidelines while maintaining power and keeping that proficiency increase. So if that wasn't enough, Steel began years ago, like I said, by introducing their AP battery technology to hopefully and completely eliminate that carbon footprint. So, like I said, Steel has always been the pioneer in the green industry. It hasn't just started with battery. They're very well invested.
Nice. I've never even heard that story.
It's a
Not
good
even
one.
a little bit. That is a good story. I don't think I've ever heard anybody mention that type of stuff. And so we know Steel. We know Steel for their. I know Steel for their chainsaws in the fire department. That's what we use. When we go up to the roof, we got Steel chainsaws in our hands. So that's what I know it from. But I've never heard that. That's a good story.
You need to come to my fire department only class in September.
Come on.
Are they all gas, Jamar? Have you started to look at the battery? Did you take it out and just go instead of having to start something up?
Yeah. I've been a proponent for it. We have a lot. The fire department is a lot of tradition, right? And it's it's a good old boy system, and it's hard to break through. But we have successfully used some chainsaws and some applications. Off the record, obviously, because this has not been approved by anybody with any power, but we've allegedly used battery powered chainsaws. And the big benefit of it, more than anything, is most people don't know this. When we are going up to the roof, we have to start the chainsaw on the ground. And so now you got to start on the ground and then go up a ladder with a running chainsaw. And so the reason why we have to get it running is because when we get up on the roof, the smoke will choke out the engine, right? So you got to have good airflow. If the smoke is too thick, it chokes it out. And so if you get up there and it's not running, we can at least half throttle a little bit, just kind of keep it running while we're walking up to our cut zone. And so, but you have to start on the ground to do that, because as dangerous as that sounds, it's even more dangerous to try to start it once you're on the roof. So battery powered stuff will completely eliminate that. It does completely eliminate that need for having to start that unsafely on the ground. And you can get it. You can take a couple of them with you. They're lighter. They're just as strong. I felt Steel's battery powered chainsaws, and a lot of times we get battery powered stuff and it feels like plastic. It feels like toys. Right. But that's not the case with Steel stuff. So I personally would love to see way more battery powered equipment in the fire department.
Have you had a chance to use the MSA 300 yet?
No.
That is a beast of a chainsaw.
You're missing out, my friend.
No, I have not. We also need a good K12 too. So if y'all have one of those, it'd be great.
So
Is that
the K12 is a model. You're talking about
It's
a cutoff
it's
machine.
it's a size basically.
Yeah. TS 420 is what you're looking for from the orange version.
Okay, gotcha.
You guys are talking some crazy language. I tell you, I got a buddy that we were out at the ranch hunting last weekend. He runs a gas powered landscape company here in Dallas. Great dude. And I brought the little 220 chainsaw out there with me with a couple of AP 500 batteries to cut up some wood for the campfire at night. And I whipped it out of the back of the truck, and he's like, "What is that?" I was like, "Dude, you haven't tried this. Put this thing in your hands." And next thing you know, we were just sawing down mesquite trees. We had firewood all night. And he was like, "Man, I need to get one of these." Man, I've been telling you, dude. Jamar, I'm surprised you guys aren't using those in the Houston Fire Department.
Don't be. We, you know how these big ships are hard to change. And we're the third largest fire department in the country, right? And so it's a lot of manpower. It's a lot of politics. It's a lot of complaints. It's a lot of excuses from politicians about why we can't afford this and can't afford that. But we do get a lot of our stuff actually comes, believe it or not, from the citizens. We get a lot of donations. There's organizations that will flat out just buy stuff for us. So I'm going to send them over. So I'm going to send them over. Matter of fact, tomorrow I'm at the station in the morning to look at this TSA 230 and see if we can get some rich people to buy it for us, some batteries. And because you know. We need it. I mean, it's a safety issue, honestly. That's the real talk about it. It's really a safety issue, even beyond emissions. You know, it's a safety issue. And even more than that, it's a performance issue.
Right.
The equipment, they are lighter, right? And they don't have as much weight shift. We don't have to worry about the fuel spillage and stuff like that. So we're going to a fire or we're going to something, man. We're hauling ass out in these streets, man. Right?
Sure.
We're hitting corners and fluids are shifting. And so no, that's I'm glad Brenton's on here. I'm glad that y'all know me. I'm glad the whole industry is moving. I'm at that point now where I'm willing to bully anybody into making that shift. But it's getting better when we got companies and manufacturers coming out with good stuff that makes it easy. Makes it easy to say, hey, look, this is a clear-cut choice. Yes, we understand there may be a financial deal that you need to, kind of consider. But hey, raise your prices, quit undercutting people, and make some profits so you can buy the stuff.
Yeah. Which kind of leads me into my next question, Brent. So when you're coming out, you guys you decide, all right, we're going to develop a new tool. How many iterations do you typically have with a tool before it's available at market in your experience? What have you seen?
So it really just depends.
Okay.
Most machines are field testing machines. They're sent to multiple places across the country through multiple test sites where hours and hours and hours are logged on these machines. Sometimes the machines might get sent back to Steel Incorporated or to Steel Germany and then shot back out to the field. It really just depends on when those steel engineers feel that the equipment is going to meet the demands of U.S. customers. That's really what it comes down to. They also have test cells at Steel Incorporated where these machines run 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, literally until they fail. And they put them through the absolute ringer. So every machine is different. Every application for every machine is different. So, like I said, you might not like the answer. It really just depends.
Yeah. So I've noticed that with many brands, and I think we all have, that there's European versions. It always seems like the European versions of tools are available sooner than products that we see here in the US. I've seen that with steel. I've seen that with Ego. I've seen that with Makita. Why is that the Europeans are getting access to these tools quicker than we are, if you know the answer to that.
So sure. I mean, more than likely, what it comes down to is just the standards for safety that America has, the American legal system, the susceptibility for product liability. Um, I know it's still we're more concerned about product liability than just about anybody else. We don't want anybody getting hurt first and foremost because there is nothing safe about outdoor power equipment. That's why we teach safety in every class that we teach, because that is the most important thing. So just the way the American legal system works in class action lawsuits, I can only imagine that is a big player in why different parts around the world or countries around the world see equipment before we do. It's just the nature of that product liability beast.
Mm-hmm. Dan, what are your thoughts on that? Crickets. Sandy. Crickets.
Oh, sorry. I had the mute on. I was
No,
over
you're
here
fine.
talking to myself.
You're
You guys
fine.
hear me okay?
Yeah, you're fine. I'm going to edit it anyway. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think with Brent there. I think a lot of people do have that situation where it does. We do have a lot legal stuff in my other job. We have more stuff in Europe than we do here. More stuff in China than we do here. So that's one of the things I've seen, for sure. That I agree with Brent. That's pretty much my idea behind that. It's the same thing. Other than Canada, I think that one's a little bit more stringent than everybody else. But Canada is pretty hard to get into because of their English standard or their Canadian standard.
Uh-huh. So, Brent, do you know kind of what your mix of European to USA product availability is right now?
No, I wish I had it for you. I don't, Steven. I don't.
Yeah, I'm curious.
It ain't all that
every
important.
once in a
The only thing that
while-
matters is Texas. So
That's right.
none of that other
right.
stuff matters.
God bless Texas. Yeah. So as far as developing a new tool, I do kind of want to recap on that. I think it's pretty important because when you bring a new tool, you say, all right, we want to develop this new string trimmer. Okay. So you're basically taking, from what I can gather, right now we're working on the 135 head, right? The most part, is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean that is like the latest commercial steel shafted product line in battery outdoor power equipment. Yeah.
Okay. And it basically has all of the same mechanics and the same components, the working parts that the gas equivalent has, right?
That is correct, except for the power head itself, right?
Okay. And then when we couple that with the AP300 or the AP500, we develop this new tool. It's going into the field. It's being tested with guys like us for thousands of hours. How long is it typically before you bring a new tool into development before it hits the shelves or before it's made available to guys like us?
So, as you probably know, the answer is really, it depends. Some machines, now I've seen machines roll out within 18 months, while some might take 10 years. And in fact, that has factually been the case with some machines in the past. I think a good average is probably about 3 to 4 years from concept to field testing and then finally production, is probably a decent average. But still, I mean, that's a decent amount of time. I mean, in the fast world in which we live of technology, that is a very conservative time frame that still wants their equipment to be. Americans treat our equipment differently from Europeans. I'm just going to go ahead and say that.
Okay.
We are awful on our equipment. and 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 Steel knows that, and so that's why they put these products out in field testing for such a long time, because they want to make sure that they meet the demands of the American market, and they do. And that's another big thing that I saw in the tech department is once these machines actually do roll out, just seeing things in the warranty process. You know, you see failures that aren't necessarily because of the equipment, but because of the operator. And we weren't there in the warranty department to really deny warranty claims, but to collect that data and send it back to Steel Incorporated, send it back to Steel Germany to make the product even better. So even after the machine has been rolled out, there's always going to be problems. And I would say that is the best thing about Steel is that their research and development, their customer service, there is nothing like it, period. Their dealer network, it is never ending. And just the support that is put out there by Steel is just incredible.
Yeah. Sean, your thoughts?
Yeah, I actually wanted to kind of jump back to the topic, the differences between the European market and the U.S. market. One thing that I have noticed a trend across all brands, and I was just kind of curious if you have some more insight on this. The robotic mowers seem to be incredibly popular throughout Europe. All the brands have them out there, and there's very few in the US, and there doesn't really seem to be a big push on the robotics side over here. I'm just curious if you have any insight on why you think that is. Is that another similar to how we're tough on our tools, just a difference in in how we approach the industry, or is there something else to it that's kind of holding that up, keeping it from proliferating throughout the U.S. market?
No, I completely get what you're saying. I mean, I I've only got my best guesses. I don't really know. I mean, that's really up to the steel engineers. Most of that stuff does come from Europe, so I know that there is product in development, but to be quite honest with you, I'm not really sure.
Yeah. So I want to touch base on your customer support. That's always a big plus for all of us in our businesses. That's one of the things that we've all struggled with all of the different companies that we've worked with in the years that we've been doing this. Um, you guys have you're running a pretty good show when it comes to customer support, and I know that firsthand, having worked with you for almost a year. Something breaks, you want to know what it is. You want to get a new tool back in our hands as quickly as possible to replace something that's broken, and you want to research what it is that did break on the tool, so you can obviously put it put it back into development and make the tool better. Um, I think that I feel, having worked with other brands and manufacturers that are out there, that you guys are doing something different on the customer support side. Can you speak to that?
Absolutely, Stephen. Thank you for asking because I think besides the equipment, Steel always makes whenever they design a machine, they don't go halfway. They don't design a machine that's basic. They design a machine that is in layman's terms is primo. They want each machine that comes out to have all of the features that anybody could possibly ever want. But besides the quality of equipment, what Steel does best and what was Steel's vision, Mr. Steel's vision, is to have a vast dealer network, to have a vast distributor network. And that's why Steel Incorporated was set up the way that it was. And that's why we have 11 branches across the country that serve different territories. And Steel is, I mean, it's not all about just the sale. Companies that are all about just the initial sale, they're not doing so hot. and because I know him just like you know him. Steel is invested um, in customers after the sale. I mean, as you know, with people like me, with people like Matt, um, we've bought into it so much that we are truly empowered by the company to go out and provide these trainings at absolutely no cost to customers, and we enjoy it. We love it because we want people to have the passion for the products and for the company that we do, and that is really what sells steel is the service after the sale.
Great points. William.
How much of that service after the sale, and this may just be me understanding the distributor network versus the dealer network, right? I know that's a reason and a big thing. You guys only sell through dealers that have that support with it. And again, maybe it's different for you guys in Texas, but how much of that is steel kind of directly and like you and Doy up our way versus the retail or the retail locations that have the service shops to go get it? Like maybe expand on that a little bit more, because like Steven said, that's I think one of the biggest things that until you get what's Mike Tyson saying, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face, right? Until you get punched in the face and are like can't get a part, or right, the pandemic slowed all of that down and you couldn't find something, and you guys have obviously come through very well to be able to support it. All of that word soup to say, maybe tell me a little bit more about how that works on a commercial side. Is it unique to you guys versus what happens in the Northeast versus dealers and distributors and retail stores? I want to understand that more, because I think you guys do it well, but I'd love to learn more about how that all works and how to do it better.
Sure.
How to consume it better and leverage it better, not just how it works, so that's cool, but like understanding how it works to be able to benefit my team and my org better.
I totally get it. So there are private distributors in the United States for steel, and there are Steel Incorporated owned branches for steel. Blue Mountain Equipment and our parent company that covers Missouri and parts of the Midwest, Crater Distributing, we are one of the few private distributors left. And even though we're privately owned, family owned, we still we report directly to Steel Incorporated. So the way we do things mostly aligns with the Steel Incorporated branches, but things that we do can sometimes are able to supplement, have extra things, maybe not quite align with what Steel Incorporated might do. We might be able to hire more personnel and focus our efforts in one area, whereas a Steel Incorporated branch may or may not be able to. I don't know. All the branches are a little bit different, and that's why we have localized branches instead of just one central location or two or three central locations that don't understand regions. There's no way that Steel Northeast would understand anything about customers down in Texas, because Texas is far and freaking wide. We have hill country, we have forests, we have mountains. I mean, you name it. And markets like DFW, oh man, the DFW market is so demanding, and other branches they wouldn't understand that. So that's a big reason why we have so many branches and distributors across the United States to serve our dealers in different places. So the dealer is the point of sale. They're going to give you the sale. They're going to give you the service whenever your equipment needs it. With people like me in field applications and the guys in the technical department, if you ever did have a issue that wasn't able to be solved by the dealer, you always have that lifeline to the direct line at Steel. So sometimes dealers are, I mean, springtime and summertime in Texas is nuts. It is absolutely nuts, and dealers get backed up so stinking far. And I feel for them because it is just the way that things grow around here in the summertime is insane. And so just working in the tech department, we would field all kinds of technical issues from end users that just had, issues. Why is my equipment still in the shop? It's just that time of year. So we are there just as another level to provide assistance, because not every dealer can have outside sales to come and give you training, to come and give you product support, and really without having dealer subjectivity or feeling like somebody's breathing down your neck to make a sale. Because like I said, that's not what I'm about. I want you to love steel just as much as I do. I don't really care who you buy it from. I just want to make sure that if you buy orange, that you bleed it too. That's
Yeah.
what I want. So that's the big difference. We're just there as another lifeline directly to Steel Incorporated, just to help the dealer out.
No, that's awesome. And I think you mentioned something earlier, which is cool. And we talked about it, probably one of the first podcasts we all ever got together on, which is we love talking about tech and new tools and gear coming out. And we love knowing that the charge time and cycle time and everything on these batteries is great. And then it's fixing the maybe disparity is too strong of a word, but disparity between that and like the warranty, right? And supporting it. Like this thing can last 8 years and it's warranted for 2. And I more bring that up to say the mentality that you talked about and have, and we've experienced it firsthand, where a warranty claim is to understand why this thing failed so it doesn't happen again, not figure out how to deny it. Like I've dealt with my car 7 million times because you take it in under the extended warranty plan that you have, and it's like, well, that's the one thing that's not actually covered, or it's like the engine block. Like nothing's ever going to break in a piece of engine block, right? It's just the way it goes. So, all that to say, I will just take a second to say I appreciate that you guys view it that way, and as more people adopt it, right, the thing is going to be having the warranty and the support like that beyond buying it, which is cool, and living through a honeymoon period of any sort of warranty that comes with it is great. But what happens when you need this thing to last for the payback period because you're pre-buying the gas, because it is a little bit more expensive up front, because you need to actually know your numbers and have it make sense. That's the next iteration that I think we're all starting to live through, and more people, as this adoption happens, are going to go. And if I leave you with any sort of challenge or things to continue to think about, it's that next piece. It's okay, I'm 2 years in, I'm 4 years in, I'm 10 years in. You guys have been doing battery forever, great. But as commercial adoption becomes mainstream across all landscapers, not us being the unique guys or people just having a couple tools here and there, I'd love to see and learn more and get more training on and hear OEMs like you guys talking about that, because I think that's where a lot of us are going to start to run into or struggle if we're not already doing so.
For sure. Those are all legit points. Thanks, man.
You mentioned training a couple times, and you kind of piqued my interest on that. Whenever I was in your facility, Blue Mountain Equipment up in McKinney, Robin took me on a tour of the facility, and I noticed you had a big training room that had maybe 40 or 50 tables that were in the room, and some big projection monitors, and there was a whole bunch of chainsaws in the room. And is that kind of part of your strategy as well? I've heard you say it a few times around training. So if you guys are taking on somebody like a municipality, or you're going after a big, large commercial company that might be transitioning over from gas to electric, given changes in legislation, et cetera, are you bringing these municipalities into your shop per se and educating them on the use of these tools? What does that look like?
So, I mean, a lot of that training is done at the dealer level. In fact, there's some pretty giant dealers out there that will get municipalities together once or twice a year. They'll get their large landscapers together once or twice a year, and typically they'll give us a call. They'll have folks like Matt come out. They'll have me come out and just to join in on the training. And they'll do like equipment rodeos, casino nights, all that kind of stuff to show them, showcase the equipment, let them demo it, do a little bit of training. As far as bringing them into the mountain, what I do is I teach a class once a quarter at Blue Mountain, and it focuses on minor diagnostics and repairs. I go over legally. I have to go over EPA guidelines and carburation and stuff like that, and how the machines actually work. But these large landscapers, fire departments, you name it. If you're a fleet customer, you can come to my quarterly classes to learn about maintenance, to learn about repairs and diagnostics on the machines. Even starting to go over a little bit of battery diagnostics, even though it can be a simple process. I go over that as well, just if they're interested. It's nothing that you have to do, but there is a lot of people that want it, and they beg for it, and I love the fact that they do, because it shows me that they are interested. Now, a question that people have is, well, don't you want the dealers to perform their maintenance? Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's what the dealers want. I mean, that's how a lot of them make money, is through diagnostics, maintenance, and repairs. But for a lot of big fleet customers, sometimes taking a machine to the shop for a couple of weeks is not an option. You got to have it. You got to have it the same day, or you got to have it the next day. So for those fleet customers, yeah, I mean, I offer that class once a quarter, and I think I mentioned it earlier in September. I do a fire department only class, and I love it. And those guys, being a first responder myself, I mean, being a grunt, and those are my kind of people, and totally love it. So yeah.
Yeah. So what do you hear about from when you're talking to maybe some of these bigger companies that are out there, obviously bigger than us, that are making that transition over to battery from gas, and they're holding some new tools in their hands, right? They're all battery powered tools. It's all brand new, and they need to understand kind of that ABC rule, right? That we have, that always be charging, and understanding there's a different workflow, there's a different process. What do you hear from a pushback standpoint from the people that are making that transition from gas to battery? What are they saying to you that is saying, look, nah, I don't want to do this? What do you hear?
I mean, there's a couple of reasons that I hear the most, and it's probably infrastructure is a big one. Just overall cost would be another one, initial cost. Another one is just the demanding application in which they would need a machine just might not fit the bill of battery power quite yet. For, I would say, the vast majority of people like landscapers, absolutely, it's fine. But I would say that infrastructure and upfront cost are two of the biggest reasons why people would be reluctant, especially with a large landscaper that's kind of landlocked, or they rent, they don't own their place, and they don't have the infrastructure to support the charging. That is that's an issue. And it is an issue that still is going to be overcoming here shortly.
Is that a teaser? Is there more you tell us? I was
I know, right? Like, come on, bro.
Talk to
Like,
me
come
about
on,
infrastructure.
come on,
You said my
Come
favorite
on.
word today, infrastructure.
come on.
So you guys should see something in the near future to help with that. It's not mobile charging. I mean, mobile charging is like giant battery banks. they don't typically make a whole lot of sense. Really, the best solution is to have more batteries that you can actually put in the equipment rather than a mobile bank that you still have to charge batteries on, that you spend thousands upon thousands of dollars on, when you could have just turned around and spent the exact same money that you spent on that mobile charging bank on actual batteries that you can put in the machines and use. So
Yeah, but that's
I got a rebuttal
we
there.
might have to.
Yeah, I don't know
that's
about
not
that.
any
I've been
fun.
quiet till now.
We got 50-50, Brent. I
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
think
a little bit. We got half the team on one side and half the team on the other
I
side.
don't really think you
everyone-
have half the team on one side.
Here we
I
go.
think it's
The-
just Jake on that side.
all right.
Yeah,
so
but
the,
he's also an Eagle lover too, though.
Rein
All right,
him in, Stephen, before everyone starts going. Rein us
yeah.
in.
All right. So the real
started something,
podcast,
bro.
the real podcast is starting now. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, the reason that we all listen, I don't think any one of us disagree with you, but it kind of takes some of the love out of the game when if we don't have our mobile charging setups, then we don't really have anything fun to do. We enjoy that. And quite frankly, I've spoken with Matt. Matt's like, yeah, just carry more batteries. You don't need an onboard charger. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I guess I could. But whenever I have an onboard charging solution, I can use much fewer batteries. I mean, we've got a crew in the field right now before we got a big durable onboard charging systems that would support this kind of all day long charging that we needed. We were carrying upwards of, 20 to 25 batteries on board. And on time, for many reasons, that's not a good thing to do. For one, people are irresponsible and they leave batteries laying around. It happens. They get lost.
Man, that is, ooh,
Yeah.
man.
I mean, if you got 25 batteries, I promise you, after 12 months, 5 of them will be missing and you will have no idea where they are.
They'll be in someone's house.
Well,
You
go
will
back
have-
go back to Europe, right? That the PS3000, you get even, you guys have something kind of like it, or the charging plugs thing that was out at Equip. I'm excited to see. Well, right before we got on, I was trying to do some more research on that. I took a cool picture of it. It's this bad boy right here, but we need to see
that
trying to
may
learn a little
or
more.
may not have been what I was alluding to just a
There
few
we go.
minutes ago.
Yeah.
Hey, it's been out in the public. If we were at Equip, the CS, whatever this thing says it was, yeah.
So it's not in our warehouse yet. So
Okay.
I'm not really going to talk that much about it, but it's going to be groundbreaking for infrastructure issues in people's warehouses. I mean, it's going to change the game.
Yep.
As far as mobile charging goes, I mean, if you want to spend the money on it, if you got a need for it, I've seen so many mobile charging solutions. They're wicked sick. They're cool. But really what I was talking about is like battery banks that are like $13,000 for like a battery bank.
Yeah.
It's gimmicky and it's kind of
Now,
senseless.
are you
'cause
referring to a certain brand or?
That's what it sounds like.
It sounds like
That number sounded familiar.
Yeah, that
It's-
number is
there's-
very familiar.
It starts with a
There's-
K.
there's a couple out there.
10,500 started, man. Come on now.
There's a couple out there. I mean, it just makes sense. Take your money, take your money, double your actual watt hours, and buy batteries you can use.
Yeah.
It just makes sense.
See, that's the part I'm excited about with the apps and the integrated stuff is we're now able to, with the stuff that y'all have coming out, or I don't even know if it's out or not, but you've mentioned it, BMS, the end user app, just being able to see, okay, this is how many watts we're using. Right. Let's cut all the nonsense, because everybody's like, well, how many batteries do I need? I said, man, look, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. And it doesn't really matter because there's, different battery manufacturers have different amp hours, have different voltages, have different, all this other stuff. And it's like, what we really need to get down to, if we want to kind of look at our equivalents, and we're talking about what, gasoline, how much you use on a gas side versus battery side, how many watt hours, how many watts are we using?
That's right.
And that's the part that I'm excited about, is when we move into this app world and be able to track this stuff, and then also find some of these lost batteries that have gotten left behind. throughout the years. But yeah, it's really getting down to that. Like, okay, what's the watts? What are we using every day? What are we using at Miss Susie's house? Because I know for me personally, I've stayed away down here in Houston. I've stayed away away from biweekly mowing because our grass gets so thick, but also it drains my batteries, and I really can't tell. I want to know what is my actual cost if I got to double cut Miss Susie's yard, triple cut Miss Susie's yard because we're going every 2 weeks. How much fuel is she using? Not just the time we spent there, but how much fuel, how many watts are we using to have to do that type of stuff? And if we really want to get to know our numbers, you know, that to me is the critical aspect of it. And we're small. We got 2 crews. I can't even imagine these large municipalities and these bigger, you know, companies that are out there. So
I think you bring up a really good point. Having
go ahead, Stephen.
No, you're good, man. After you. You're our guest.
Oh, I was just gonna say, you know, that's it is all about the watt hours. I mean, that's another huge misconception out there. There's a lot of things getting thrown out there as far as volts. You'll have one side that's screaming volts, volts. We need more volts. You'll have another side that's screaming amps, amps. We need more amps. When in all actuality, you need a calculated formula between volts and amps to give you that output power, which is your watt hours. And steel batteries, we publish that on every battery. You get your peak watt hours, and you also get your actual output watt hours. So where somebody might have a 60 volt battery, take a look at the amps. Might not have that many amps, which if you do the math, the watt hours are pretty low. That's another thing that steel does very well in battery design, is designing a battery that is a high watt hour output battery in that formula of watts, or excuse me, of volts and amps.
Dan, does that check out with you? I think you mentioned watts in our chat there.
Absolutely. That's the only thing that matters. Watts. And
what Jamar said about Jamar, man, you bring up a really good point. Now I'm wondering, does anybody else have this technology where we're able to keep track of how
Crest has that as well.
Crest does have that?
Yeah. It's on their Bluetooth app, and I believe Greenworks has that on their new series with their Bluetooth app as well.
Yeah, Crest has it on the batteries and their bank, and then Greenworks. But the Greenworks one, there's still a bunch of stuff that still needs to come out because it only tracks their mower, nothing with their batteries outside of whether it's being charged or not.
Yeah. Jamar brings up a good. Go ahead.
Sorry, Steven. But that one actually has like also 4G where it connects to the servers, and then you can kind of see where your mower is at, how many watts it's using, or I think it's amps or whatever, and then how much runtime you have left for that mower to run that day.
Yeah,
so that's what Greenworks has on their big riding mowers.
Yeah, and we do have that with our Steel Connect, so it's connected to our phones, right? So we're able to kind of see. We can track the hours of the machine. We can track the cycles of the battery. Jamar, that's a really good point, man, from a pricing standpoint. As far as battery consumption, you really bring up a great point in our business and what we do. And that is, I don't even know if I want to cut Miss Susie's lawn because it's going to burn 3 batteries and it's going to put me in a predicament 3 or 4 hours down the road on the day where, you know, I may have to cut my day short or whatever the case may be. I'm just going to spend more time out here. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's part of the cost factor. We have to think about that. Right. So if I do take 20 batteries and, you know, for my weekly people, we only use, you know, a quarter of a battery or half a battery, whatever the case may be. But then I go to this lady's house and her grass is thick as all get out. But even like on cleanups, right? If we're going to go do big cleanups, you know, the things that I always put into our pricing is I'm probably going to replace this blade. Right. Because this grass is 6 inches, 8 inches thick. I'm probably going to run into something. So I'm looking at, okay, I'm going to have to replace this blade. So I might as well be, how much battery am I going to use? How much energy am I going to use at this house having to double, triple cut thick ass grass, right? Excuse my language. Yeah. And that's something that we should be able to calculate, right? Because it matters. And so we'll be able to justify our pricing, not only to ourselves, but also to our clients. But I think most of the time it's to ourselves, because we don't really exceed those numbers, because we think, oh, I don't want to charge Miss Susie $80 for a biweekly yard. Her yard ain't that big. But shit, if it's growing like that, $80 may be your cost.
Yeah.
Right. Especially if it's costing you extra time, or you need to buy extra batteries, or you need to buy extra battery banks, or you need to have a 3-phase, electricity system at your warehouse, or whatever the case may be. Like, you need to know these things. If you want to scale, if you want to be profitable, bless you, and
Sorry
all that
about
good
that, guys.
stuff. But all good. And so, no, those are the things I think about, is like, okay, because we've all been there. Everybody here has started off. I think everybody's here started off where it was just you, a push mower, and you hope you had enough batteries to last you the day. I know me personally, I used to have to come home through the middle of the day to charge for 2-3
at
hours.
lunch. Yeah.
Then go back out and hit it, when we're all trying to test this thing out to see if it even works. But I think now we're more mature. And if our mission is to move everybody forward into this electric lawn mowing realm, we have more information. We can make more educated decisions. We can promote this better. And because, let's be honest, man, like you were saying, these municipalities, big business, these are big layouts, right? And so they need all the data they can to justify it, especially those who got financiers, right? Or financiers, and people who loan the money or have investors. The investors want to know this stuff too. So I think about that all the time. What's this really costing me?
Yeah. So I want to touch briefly on the leaf blowers. We've had some experience with the BGA 300. You're right over there?
Sorry, guys.
Let him get that out.
I'm getting over the funk. Sorry about that.
I'll wrap it up here in a minute. So we have the BGA 300. We've got the BGA 86, which is the handheld blower that takes the AP style batteries. Both of those are incredibly quiet compared to some of the other units that we've used, and we've used quite a few of them. And I was kind of expecting those units to get noisier after time went by, based on experience from other units that we've used. But I haven't seen that. We're 8 months into having the BGA 300 and the 86, I believe it is, which is the smaller little handheld consumer grade, but it's perfect for our enhancement crews, the maintenance crews that are going out to just blow clippings off the driveway, etc. Can you talk to me briefly about what you guys are doing with the technology to make those things as quiet as they are?
I'm going to try to make it through this. There is a whole bunch of wicked sick magic that goes on in that machine. And I know the engineering with the turbine and the padding that they use within the engine itself that surrounds the turbine has a lot to do with the noise output of those machines. But yeah, I mean, that's just one thing that Steel had in mind when they were making these, because with a lot of blowers, the need for a battery blower typically, or any battery equipment really, I mean, the need for it is noise ordinances. And instead of having, a noisy, 2-stroke or 4-stroke blower around, why not make these blowers as quiet as we possibly can? So that is definitely one thing that the engineers have focused on with both of the blowers that you named, but especially the BGA 300.
Yeah. I mean, it is impressive, and not to make a pun out of it, but that certainly is all the noise in the game. We all know that. Well, I think when we came into this deal, it was all about us pushing the zero emission side of our business, but we quickly learned that noise pollution was the thing that people cared about more than anything else, right? It's almost like if they could care less if we were running gas powered engines or not, but as long as they're, up 50% quieter than what these gas units are, that's all people really cared about. They just didn't want to hear the leaf blowers. Does anybody else have anything for Brent? I've got one more closing question for him. Anything you guys have for him? Sean, Sandy.
No questions. I think this was great.
Yeah, awesome. So Brent, if I could put myself into, or you could put yourself into a time capsule and fast forward steel 5 years down the road, what do you think we would be looking at?
It is so extremely hard to tell. I mean, gas equipment finally got to a point where, engineering just got so advanced. I mean, in a conventional like carbureted machine, it couldn't get any better, and so they started making fuel injected machines, which we have now in like the TS500i and the MS500i injected machines, where battery equipment is going to take us. I mean, like I said, I've seen it come so far just in the past 2 years, compared to the 8 years prior. I Nothing and everything would surprise me at this point. I honestly, I don't even know what to expect anymore, because whenever I started, I could count the amount of machines that Steel had, and now things are coming out at a pace that it's hard for me to keep up with all of the models that we have now. So it's honestly, I mean, I know you're looking for a better answer, but when I came in, I mean, I was a chainsaw, blower, and trimmer technician, and now I'm seeing robots. I'm seeing all this battery equipment. I mean, it's just the sky really is the limit with the stuff that I've seen just really in the past few months.
Yeah. Do you think, in your opinion, that 5 years down the road, we could potentially see a mix of 90% battery powered equipment versus 10% gas powered in 5 years?
I mean, I've seen I've seen stuff out there just on the internet, and certain reports saw, in the next 5 years, the outdoor power industry for landscaping we're going to see like 70% of the equipment out there is going to be battery equipment. I mean, it's in 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 a way, I mean, that's an extreme possibility. I mean, you see California going all battery. Cities like the city of Dallas have tried to mandate. Now they're offering incentives. It very well could end up that way. I mean, more states going that way. Just with a buddy of mine and I were talking about it earlier. I am by no means like a battery freak. That's I think it's astounding. I think it's cool. We got to talking about a battery automobile, but it's just astounding the amount of torque and amount of horsepower that these battery operated machines are putting out now. It's absolutely crazy the amount of power that you get. And here, this year you're going to see it with our battery zero turn mower, 64 horse battery mower. I mean, the largest gas displacement mower that we have is 40, and the battery mower is going to be 64. I mean, it's just crazy the amount of technology that is being focused on battery. I mean, it's like I said, I wish I had a more exact number for you, but yeah, I mean, for sure, you're going to see more battery equipment. There's no doubt. There's no doubt.
Yeah, I imagine we will. We're looking forward to it. Brent Lanier with Blue Mountain Equipment Steel. Thanks for your service, man. I appreciate it. You've been it's been a delight having you on the show with us. I know we all appreciate it, giving up your time, and we look forward to the advancement in technology and you guys kind of leading the way to a brighter future for all of us, man. We appreciate everything you do, and thanks so much for being on with us tonight.
Thank you, all you guys. I really had a good time. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you, brother.
Heck yeah.
And
Thanks,
Shane,
man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Later,
Thank
Brent.
you, brother.